Hi guys, BuildZoid here, and today we're going to be doing the B550 Gigabyte motherboards. We're just going to be going through them, seeing what we can see, because yeah, they're finally released. Also, I've not had internet for several days, so I'm really behind on stuff. So I'm just trying to churn out videos very quickly. So I've not actually been like, this is basically the first time I'm seeing the entire Gigabyte lineup. Well, I've checked it before, but I wasn't really paying too much attention to it. So yeah, let's get into it. We'll be using Newegg for prices because as far as I can tell, the pricing is correct on Newegg. Do they have all of the boards? Oh, damn it. They don't have the one that I'm most interested. Like the one I'm kind of interested in is not here. Oh well. Um, it'll work. That we can work with that. So yeah, let's get into it. Oh, and they don't have the designary either, but whatever. Like, you know, the thing is prices can go up and down a bit, so it's not like it's that important anyway. Also, my audio's wrong. Like, this is really annoying. It's like I just get back into video making, and like after so long, it's like everything's wrong now. So let's get into it. B550 Aorus Master. So that's a $280 board. Um, so the cool thing is this is actually literally the same VRM that you'd get on the X570 Aorus Extreme. In fact, I would argue that this is this is basically a X570 Aorus Extreme for half the price. And the funny thing is Gigabyte's also supporting like higher advertising a higher memory speed support. Right, even for like third gen CPUs, they're supporting 5200 because being a newer motherboard, this actually gets a newer memory topology. Which you'll notice that like if you look at say like a really early X570 Aorus Extreme, which they've done like there's multiple versions of all of the boards. Okay, yeah. Oh, so if you see my X570 Aorus Extreme, you'll notice that I have a bunch of capacitors between the memory and the CPU. Those are missing on the like current retail boards because Gigabyte has since improved the memory topology, and as part of that, those capacitors went away. I assume they were getting in the way of some kind of memory trace layout because the thing is, memory isn't very hard to power. The priority is really getting the trace layout optimized as optimized as possible. And so, having two great big capacitors just kind of sitting in the middle of it is like, it might be better to get rid of them. So that's exactly what we see on the B550 boards compared to like the early X5s. Actually, like compared to the X5, like you don't even see it on the X570 boards anymore because I think they've redid the topology for almost all of them. No, this one still has it. So this one still has the caps there. And yeah, so for the higher end boards, they've redone the topology. Those caps are gone. And that's how you can tell that you're on a newer topology. You don't have the caps. You actually have better memory overclocking, which yeah. So with the B550 boards, like you get the latest implementation of the memory layout that Gigabyte has. So the memory overclocking is better. The VRM is really good. You get a postcode. The main problem, and so like right now it's like yay postcode, all that good stuff. The main problem I have with this board is that it has dual BIOS, but it doesn't have the BIOS switches, right? So this board, like there's two BIOS chips right there. And I wonder if they actually mention that. Well, it should be in the specifications. So BIOS, yes, two 256 megabit flash chips. Yeah, so this right here means that memory overclocking on this board is going to be absolutely infuriating because if it fails to post, I think 3 or 4 times in a row, it's going to switch which BIOS chip you're on. So basically, you're going to want to dedicate one of your USB 2.0 ports to being a flash stick for storing BIOS profiles. Like, you literally have to go that far. I'm not kidding. Like, that's the easiest way to not lose your mind working with a dual BIOS Gigabyte board that doesn't have the BIOS switches, which, like, it's incredibly stupid and I have no idea why this is a thing. And I've pointed it out to Gigabyte on multiple occasions. I can't believe that they've gone back to this, because on Z490 you either have single BIOS or you have dual BIOS with switches. On X570 you either have dual BIOS with switches or single BIOS. And then for B550 we have this thing. This abomination, where you have your two BIOS switches, but no way to control which one you're on, and your BIOS profiles are tied to the BIOS switches. So even if you are the problem is, so now you basically, the other thing is annoying to get back, switching between which BIOS, it's so frustrating. It is just so frustrating. Like, anybody who's never worked with a dual BIOS Gigabyte board that doesn't have the switches has no idea what I'm talking about, but if you've ever worked with a board with the switchless dual BIOS, you know exactly why I absolutely hate this. So, honestly, they were so close. They were so close to making, the perfect AM4 motherboard with this. And then they did that. The other thing that this board does that's kind of special is that the PCIe lane assignment on this thing is pretty unique. So Gigabyte gives you 3 PCIe 4.0 M.2 slots, and the way they do that is they basically steal a bunch of the PCIe from your GPU. So if you want to run a 2080 Ti on this, I would strongly 2080 Ti and 3 M.2s. I would strongly recommend against that, because your 2080 Ti will be running at PCIe 3.0 X8. Yeah, that's the funny thing about PCIe 4.0 is technically you have more bandwidth as long as the device actually supports running at PCIe 4.0 speeds. Otherwise, you're just you still only have 16 lanes, so that's for 3000 series for GPUs that are PCIe 4.0 compatible, this is not a concern. But yeah, I wouldn't stick a 2080 Ti in this along with 3 M.2 SSDs. That is actually, the funny thing is, even one M.2 SSD is going to kill off half of your primary PCIe slot, because PCIe does not do X12. It does X16, X8, X4, X2, X1. It doesn't do, and actually X2 is, I think it exists, but it's very rare. It might not exist, but basically, PCIe is not very flexible in terms of how much you can divide it up. So, yeah. Also, wait a minute. Ultra durable running X16 or X8 for DGPU. Oh, dedicated GPU. Yeah, so you only get one proper, CPU slot on this board, which I think is pretty dumb. So, basically, this board is, from a CPU perspective, I like it, but in terms of what they've done, I guess a lot of people might want to have a bunch of M.2 4.0 SSDs, but at the same time, PCIe 4.0 SSDs, from, what I've seen, as far as, well, the thing is, I only use SATA SSDs. I've not felt like SATA SSDs are slow enough to give me a good reason to update to M.2 SSDs. So, I'm obviously the wrong audience for this, but yeah, I would have preferred more actual PCIe slots and less M.2, less focus on having super fast M.2, because, as, well, yeah, I just don't think that's that useful, but I don't know, I might be wrong about that. Postcode's nice, VRM's really nice, rear I.O., I like the rear I.O. as well. Right, but and you get Q flash, which, man, that's going to be so frustrating with the dual BIOS without the bloody switches. I have no idea why they don't have the switches. Anyway, so honestly, I think the best well, I guess they didn't want this to compete with the X570 Master too much, but the Master's $350. If I remember correctly, right? Oh, no, no, that's the Ultra. That's 300. Where's the Master? No, that's the B550. Yeah, X570 Master is 360. Now, so well, I guess they didn't really want to eliminate the need for the X570 Master. Because if this had the switches, then it's like, why would you get the X570 board at all? And it's like, so that you don't have to be super frustrated with Gigabyte's horrible dual BIOS implementation. Like, that's the main issue, so... Yeah, I'm not sure why they do that. Like, it's just never understood why they bother. Anyway, what else do we have? Let's check out the Vision D, I guess. I'm assuming... Okay, this has normal PCIe slots. So that's nice. And you still get a postcode. And it doesn't look like this has dual BIOS. So this actually looks like the nicer board. Seriously, what is going on with, like, their decision-making process? Because this makes zero sense. Like, I'm assuming the Vision D is going to be roughly the same price. I'm assuming this is also on a similar VRM. Well, they've swapped out to cheaper capacitors. That's something they've done. And they've cut down the phase count. And the bulk capacitance overall is smaller. But I'm not sure that... Well, actually, we can't see the back of the board here, but... Like, now you have... I'm assuming... Yeah, that's an X8 right there. Ooh, I wonder... Man, this page is so much less informative than the one they have for the Master. This is really dumb. This is really, really dumb. You know what? No, we're just going to go to the specifications because I can't deal with this. So, same memory topology because the same memory speeds are advertised, which makes sense. There's no reason to not use the same memory topology. This has Wi-Fi 6, integrated in... Yeah, see, so these are both CPU. Whereas this... Yeah, on the chipset. They have two X4s on the chipset. This is really, like... Like, this board is basically like you want one GPU, and one GPU is the only thing that you're going to put into your board. And at the same time, the dual BIOS is infuriating, and it's dumb, and it's stupid, and I have no idea why they don't give you the bloody freaking switches. It's a $280 board. It should have the bloody switches. Like, or it should be single BIOS. One of the two. Like, you can't have dual BIOS without the switches. Like, because it's really dumb. So yeah, this one's single BIOS. See, like, so this one's single BIOS. So this is ultimately just the all-round better board if you're a normal person, in my opinion. And this board is like, I guess if you love M.2 SSDs and hate yourself and hate memory overclocking, you buy yourself a Master, which is really, like, how does that make any sense? I wonder if they have a cheaper board where you get the same memory topology, which, you know, I would assume is possible, solid VRM, and don't have the stupid dual BIOS implementation. Let's see. I'm still not used to the Google Chrome interface, so that's why I'm kind of disoriented with my clicks here. Also, what's the VRM on this? I'm actually... Wait, it looks like the same VRM as we have here. Yeah, that inductor spacing looks... Like, the thing is, the board vendors aren't that creative, so... Yeah, that's going to be the same VRM. So that's going to be the same 50 amp power 50 amp DR MOS. So this is going to be intercell. This is international rectifier, which... That is actually... How many phases? 12 plus 2. True 12 plus 2. What controller did they get there? Oh, I know what they're doing. There's two of them. Right? There's totally two controllers on this. This still has the stupid PCIe slot arrangement. And it doesn't... Oh, right. This is two M.2s off of the CPU. Oh, man. So now you give up, like, X4... Wait, no. That would be incredibly dumb. The thing is, PCIe 4.0 switches are rather expensive, so... Yeah. That makes sense. Yep, that makes perfect sense. PCIe 4.0 switches are very expensive. So, logically... The Pro, which is, this is why we list my highest price. Yeah, wait, 80, yeah, so Pro's $80 less. I'd get the Pro instead of the Master. Like, one, this is probably single BIOS, right? Where's the BIOS spec? No, that's, yeah, single BIOS. So you're not going to have the incredibly frustrating dual BIOS. You still have the same memory topology. So the memory overclocking is still going to be the same. You have an intersil instead of a international rectifier VRM, but ultimately, like, intersil can, like, well, intersil can make, like, intersil is just as good as international rectifier depending on how it's implemented. Like, that's the main thing. It's not too much, like, there are certain brands where it's like, oh, this is just kind of not as good, but intersil is, you can get, like, the Z390 Dark is an intersil VRM. So, there. And Gigabyte's entire Z490 lineup is intersil everywhere, so yeah, there's no reason that this should be, worse than the international rectifier, though they've definitely, capacitors are cut down, as in they're using the APAC capacitors, which are 5,000 hours instead of 10,000 hours, but honestly not really a concern considering that the VRM, like, this is on 50 amp power stages. This should not be getting ridiculously hot under, any kind of loading, even with a 3950X. So the capacitors are going to last forever anyway, because the easiest way to increase their lifespan is to just not run them as hot, and then you don't need a really high endurance rating. Rear I/O looks good. I actually like this. Like, this is still a solid rear I/O. I'm surprised that they're not putting PS2 ports, because I know a lot of people who, well, okay, not a lot of people, but I know there are people who like PS2 keyboards, more specifically IBM Model Ms and other such, like, ancient mechanical keyboards, right, where, like, you literally can't get them with anything other than PS2 because that's what they were made for. Anyway, 14 power phase, driver MOSFET. Intersil. Oh no, they have just one controller. Wait, there's an asterisk. Where's the clarification for that asterisk? Is it at the bottom of the page? Nope, that's different. Item 12 plus what? I'm not seeing, well, the thing is I could have doublers on the back, but because the thing I'm confused about is up here it says true 12, which I'm not aware of an intersil controller that goes above. Also, that doesn't look like it has enough pins. At the same time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that doesn't look like a 12 plus, like, because that looks like they have the current sensing of 2 power stage, like, even then, if they were using ISL 6617s, you shouldn't actually have a current sensing, like, that should be, you should, like, it should look like a 6-phase. I'm very confused. What on earth are they doing? True 12. All solid capacitors. Well, like, everybody uses all solid all solid capacitors for years now. That's not new. But they do that. Like, compared to liquid electrolyte capacitors, yes, you get better transient response. Okay, so I actually like this more than the master. Like, I'm not sure how, like, the VRM is, weaker in terms of current handling capacity, but it's not really, like, a big deal. And if you're, like, you don't have the stupid dual BIOS. Like, that's the main thing, is, like, the dual BIOS just, it's so annoying to work with that not having it is such, like, that's an actual feature as far as I'm concerned. So I'd rather have this. And that's, and it's a cheaper board, and you still get the same memory topology, and you get still roughly the same terrible PCIe slot layout. Well, actually, I think that's standard for most B550 boards, is that you don't get two 4.0 slots on the cheaper boards, because the PCIe 4.0 switches, those cost a lot. Like, yeah, so those are expensive, so I can get that. Anyway, so that's the Pro. So I actually like the Pro. I'm not really a huge fan of the Master so far. Let's check out the Elite. Where is the Elite? That's the Pro AC. Oh, they have like a bunch of flavors of the Pro. Oh, that's the M Pro. There's the Elite. Why is it all the way down there? Anyway, so what do we have here? Is this the same? Wait, what? This is a different VRM. True 12. What? Like, that's a different VRM, right? Like, yeah, that's got to be different. That has a different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Right, they dropped the SMD caps for filtering the SoC power. Less layers. I'm assuming this is going to be a 4-layer PCB. Because we can see all of the memory traces, whereas like the Pro and the... Like here, we can't see anything, right? Like you can't see any memory traces. Same for the Vision, you can't see any memory traces. And these are all, I think, 6-layer PCBs, and this is going to be a 4-layer. In fact, yeah, it's a 4-layer. And this is a 6. Yep. So it's a 4. Different VRM though. So now I'm very like now I'm wondering, okay. I guess maybe Intersil also has a 14-phase controller, but I've not heard of one yet. So, yeah, okay, the rear I/O is starting to get a bit cut down compared to the Pro, but honestly, like, this is still a lot of USB ports, right? That's 8 in total, so I'd be totally cool with that. There's only 4 SATA ports, and they all stick straight up out of the board. Admittedly, they've done it pretty tactically, where like these are out of the way of anything, and these are also pretty out of the way of anything, so it's not like a big deal, right? You only get so wait, are these still on the CPU? No way. There's no way they're both on the CPU again. Like, just because the PCIe 4.0 switches are so damn expensive. Yeah, chipset. 1 CPU, 1 chipset. Single BIOS, not dual BIOS. So this is a, like, surprisingly capable VRM, though. Wait a minute, what? This photo has blanks. Oh man. This is like an unfinished PCB because they just have the pads for the power stages but no actual power stages. I wish they spec'd which controller this is on. Also, the inductors being kind of like grouped up together. Well, that probably doesn't mean anything, but they do look like they're kind of grouped up, which makes me a little like that just makes you a little bit suspicious. But at the same time, it could just be like more convenient for, or just like it might just be completely random that they're grouped up like that. Yeah, so we have the usual daisy chain. This this animation is really annoying because it highlights the incorrect DIMM slot first. Like you have to plug in the last ones, not the first ones. But yeah, like if you look at the actual PCB, they do tell you which ones you're supposed to use. So, you know, as long as you can read, you should be okay. But honestly, expecting people to read is apparently a bit too much sometimes, as I've learned from, you know, making videos over time. Anyway, no, so I'm not seeing anything particularly wrong with this board. Like, this looks like a solid board. It's just going to be weaker in terms of memory overclocking, which, how much weaker? Oh boy. Okay, that's like a lot weaker. Only 4,000? What on earth? That much of a difference? Because I've had like B450 motherboards doing 4,400 with the appropriate memory sticks. Like, not everything, but with the right sticks, you could go to 4400 on cheap, like, on B450 boards. So I would have assumed a B550 would do at least 4400. I wonder if this, wait, no, it says it's deep, like, it said it's a daisy chain. Still, I just want to, because the thing is, like, they might have recycled the, like, B450 topology, which, in which case, like, that is, that's a T. Okay, no, it's definitely a daisy chain. Man, but that is really surprising that it only ends at 4,000, like, it ends just at 4,000. Because that's really low for an AM4 motherboard. Well, the thing is, at the same time, you don't really need to go above 4,000. Like, you don't need to go above 3,800 anyway. It's just kind of like, yeah, that's surprisingly low. And I think that oh, this doesn't have undo close tab. I forgot about that. Google Chrome doesn't do that. Okay, let's just open that up again. But yeah, even with 4 DIMMs, they support up to 3866 and 3733. So even if you were running like a 4x8 configuration, you should be fine with this board. So it's not really like but still, it's like that is weird. Like I would have expected higher speeds to be in the spec than just 4400, than just 400. Like, well, 4000. That's so low. What else do we have? So that's the Elite. Oops. That's 160. Man, like, well, it's not that much of a price difference. Then we have, oh, that's just another, actually, no, wait, it's $20 if you get the non-Wi-Fi Pro. And you get it in my, oh, right, what? Man, why doesn't the Pro have the bloody postcode? If the Pro had the postcode, like the Master is, in my opinion, really dumb in terms of just how it's set up in its entirety. And then it's like, but it has a postcode. And it's like, but I'd rather not have the silly dual BIOS. So that's really like frustrating that the Master has the switchless dual BIOS. Like, they should just make a revision, like revision 0.2 or 1.1 of the Master with switches for the dual BIOS. And I'd be like, they should just do that. The Master Plus with dual BIOS switches, because dual BIOS, like Gigabyte's automatic dual BIOS, is quite the experience if you don't have the switches for it. Anyway, so now I don't know which board is going to be next, but I'm going to assume for mATX it's going to be Pro, then Elite, then this thing. And we've already done the Elite. For ATX boards, what's the... Oh, for ATX we next have the Gaming X, and then there's also the Pro AX for ATX, which that's actually pretty expensive, so let's take a look at that. B550, direct 8-phase with 90 amp smart power stages. So this should be interesting, because this looks like the same VRM heats. Oh man, wait, the X570 version of this heatsink has a couple cuts into it. Don't really think that makes much of a difference, but still. So, okay, that's one thing they've changed. I have tantalum SMD capacitors on the output filter. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 phases total. So that's going to be 6 vCore, 2 iGPU. Like that should still be mostly capable of powering a 3950. Like it's going to depend on airflow if you're like hammering a 3950X, but other than that, it's going to be fine. No doubler, no parallel. Yeah, 90 amp smart power stages, lowest voltage ripple. All solid. Oh, they don't show it. Why are you highlighting these instead of the bloody tantalums? Who cares about the input filtering caps? Like, the freaking output filter. More important. Anyway. XMP 5300. Oh, so this one should be super, like... This should be really strong for memory as well. Not shielded, though, the memory topology, because we can see all the traces. At the same time, I don't think I've seen a shielded 2DIMM motherboard Or I might be misremembering that. But yeah, I don't think I've seen a shielded 2D motherboard yet. Actually, let's check some of the, like, let's check the X570s, because they've updated the graphics for all the, like, the images of all the other X570s, so maybe they change, like, the ITX one also has new pictures. Oh no, this does seem to have shields, right? I'm not, or... Oh no, no it doesn't. No, there's no shield. You can still just about make out the traces. Anyway, so this looks like a solid alternative to the X570 ITX. I mean, the funny thing is, like, I assume why MSI didn't bother with an X570 ITX board is just, like, you don't get any advantages from using the X570 chipset for an ITX motherboard. Because, like, what, are you gonna get, like, extra PCIe slots from your chipset? Like, no, you're not. There's nowhere to put those PCIe slots. So, yeah. Rear I/O looks decent by ITX motherboard standards. Well, could have more USB ports always, but Q flash is here, Wi-Fi 6, 2.5 gig LAN. So yeah, this looks like I don't see anything particularly wrong with this board. Like the thing is just well, I think for ITX there's probably some more like stronger options in terms of power delivery from, I'd guess, Asus, maybe ASRock, Wait, does MSI have an ITX for B550? I'm not sure. I've not checked yet. We'll see when we get to those. But yeah, like I'm not seeing anything terrible so far. So yeah, like this might actually be slightly better than the X570 board. But the thing is, the 90 amp smart power stages versus the 70s, there's not much of a difference. Though I guess with just 6 phases, there should be maybe more of a difference because you'd be further outside the peak of like the peak efficiency, which is basically similar for both. But yeah, if you're further away from the peak, the 90s might start having a bit more of an advantage compared to the X570 ITX. But anyway, so at this point, let's take a look at the mATX Pro. So we've got a 10+3 VRM. Wait a minute. What did the Elite have? Oh no, this is definitely different. I was just like, wait a minute, this VRM looks very similar, but no, they just all look really similar. That's what it is. I'm not really a fan of them shifting down that PC, like that X16 slot, because as far as I'm aware, like most people who want an mATX motherboard probably want an mATX motherboard so that they can use like 2 PCIe slots instead of just 1. And if you have a triple slot GPU, well, guess what you're not going to be able to use, right? That PCIe slot right there is not going to work. You have a 3-slot card, so that's that kind of sucks. At the same time, I guess it means your M.2 SSD isn't going to be getting cooked by your GPU. Rear I/O looks good. VRM looks like I'm going to assume these are 4C06Ns and 4C10Ns, in which case this looks like big nope. Well, as long as you're not like, well, if you're overclocking a 3950X, big nope. But at stock or like PBO settings, this should actually be relatively fine. Even with a 3950X. So, yeah, but like the thing is these discrete, like the thing is it's not just that these are discrete MOSFETs. It's Gigabyte uses, like there's always ASRock when you want especially like bad discrete MOSFETs. There's ASRock that they'll get you those. But Gigabyte with the like the 4C06s are not great. And this is probably a bunch of 4C06s. And this is like, the thing is, this is going to be barely better than the VRM they had on the V450 boards. And that VRM was not great in terms of thermals. Though, at least they have like much more substantial heat sinks than they had before. So I guess it might overall not be as bad as it used to be. But, like, because they've added like... The funny thing is they've more than doubled the phase count, like this being a 10+3 compared to the old, like I'm assuming that they actually have 10 phases because maybe like Intersil might actually have a higher phase count controller than I'm aware of so far, but yeah, assuming this is a 10+3, they've actually like more than doubled the phase count, but the total number of low side MOSFETs has only increased by 2. Now, this should still be a bit more efficient than having all of your low sides in parallel, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be that much better. So most of it's going to come down to the heat sinks. At the same time, this also looks like the memory topology. Well, actually, let's just check, right? So yeah, this is on the same topology as the Elite, so the weaker, like the really, like surprisingly weak daisy chain, assuming that this is like, because the thing is, they might be really like conservative with their claims and the board can actually go past 4,000, or it literally hits a wall at 4,000, in which case, oh my god, what on earth? How did you do that? Like B450 motherboards can do 4,500, like can do 4,400. So how is a B550 doing 4,000? Like doing 4,000? I have no idea. Um. Anyway, so that's B550M Aorus Pro. Like this is in my opinion not going to be the best mATX board, especially. Oh, we have no price for it. Well, I guess it depends how they price it, but it looks like it has the same VRM as the Gaming X, and if the Gaming X is $140, then and that is a Pro branded board, so I'm gonna guess it's gonna be like 150. Where on earth? Yeah, it's gonna be like 150. So the Elite is probably gonna be like 120, and then that's $100. So this is the Elite. We still have the not so great PCIe slot layout, and it's the return of the exceptionally terrible intercell VRM. Wait, 5 plus 3? Oh no, it's different. Wait, what? This is 5 plus 3? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's a 5 plus 3. It's not the same. It's different. Okay, that's actually that's a pleasant surprise. Because on the B450 motherboards from Gigabyte, the controller you had has no LLC settings, has no way to do static voltage settings. Just generally, it's a really annoying controller to work with. Rear I/O does not look as bad as it could be considering the price point. Though I'm assuming this is at like down to 1 gig LAN at this point, right? Memory, yeah, memory is still like they're not going to go for like you're not going to see I think a worse topology at this point. Like it's not going to get any worse. 1 gig Realtek, okay. So this is like a board for up to a 3700. Yeah, 3700X should be fine. I wouldn't go past that if you're well, the thing is if you're running the CPUs at stock, you shouldn't have a problem. It's just if you're overclocking, yeah, that's not going to be great. So I still don't get why we have these weird VRM heatsinks with like the overhang that goes like that. Like theoretically that should be very inefficient because your heat has to travel a ridiculous amount of distance to get to that surface area that's in that overhang. Right? Like if it was like a V like so this looks like I would consider this like a C shape. Well, in my opinion it should be like a V shape, right? Like that would in theory be better. So, but oh well, V's are like a V would be less aesthetically pleasing, I guess, because you just get like this massive slot down this area of the heatsink. But well, whatever. Like the thing is like this isn't really meant to be like a super overclocking board. You still get Q flash though. That's cool. But yeah, I'm really not a fan of this board. Like I've seen like there's definitely stronger mATX motherboards out there than this. So, and probably even around the same price point. So, yeah, not a fan. Um, actually, wait a minute. If they have, oh, wait, what? That's two? What are the, one? What? I am extremely confused. Is that just like one, two, three, four, five? No. They can't actually be doing that. If that, okay, so if there's no MOSFETs hiding on the back of the board or somewhere that I can't see them, this is awful. Like, this is straight up worse than what they had on B450. So, okay, we're downgrading this from like 3700X to like 3600. Because, yeah, this actually, well, 3700X really doesn't pull that much power, so that might still be okay. But, yeah, I am really not a fan of what I'm seeing. Like, that looks horrendous in terms of the power delivery. Yeah, that's just, like, because if that is if that is 5 4C06s for the low side, this is going to be ridiculously inefficient at high current outputs. Like, yeah, those are awful low side MOSFETs, and I'm assuming Gigabyte hasn't changed the low side MOSFETs that they're using, so this is going to run ridiculously hot. If you really try to run anything like, if you try to push this VRM, it's just going to get really bloody hot. Admittedly, this is meant for but the thing is like if you're buying a 3300X, I'd say you're probably looking to spend less than $100 on a motherboard, not 150, right? Like, and so I don't like this board. I really don't like that board. That does just, like, I might be wrong about the VRM configuration, but from what I'm seeing, no, just no. Anyway, what else is there? So we've done that. Oh, Gaming X. We haven't done the Gaming X. So let's take a look at the Gaming X. No, this has a better VRM than the Elite. Oh, right, because this is on the same VRM as the Pro. This is going to have the weaker memory topology. This doesn't have Cube Flash? Oh, no, it does have Q Flash. That's really surprising that they managed to, that's kind of neat that they managed to squeeze Q Flash in onto all of their boards. So yeah, this is the same VRM as the mATX Pro board, which again is this is not great, but it's still better than this, which is not really surprising. But yeah, I'm not how much is that board supposed to be? That's supposed to be $140. Well, I don't think this is going to be the best $140 B550 board. Yeah, even I don't think, at $140, I don't think this is going to be the best board. I really don't. So, yeah, not really a fan of what they've done with this. At the same time, I don't know what CPU they're thinking that people are going to run in this, but the board is $140. I would be trying to stick a 3700X in it, which at stock, well, yeah, if you're not overclocking, which with Ryzen not overclocking is kind of the way to go. But at the same time, it's but also, your memory support is kind of awful. So, I'm not sure if that'll translate into actual, tangible differences if you're trying to push 3800 with tight timings. But, yeah, this is not, this is not a confidence-inspiring motherboard, especially at the price point. So what else do we have? Oh, and then we have the DS3H. And, no, this is on the, yeah, so the Elite is... Man, I really don't get the point of the Elite then. Because, no, not wrong Elite, mATX Elite. So, we look at this. Okay, here's the VRM for that. Here's the VRM for this. Notice a difference? The angle changed. It's the same bloody VRM. And that board is $100. So what else did change? So how's the rear I/O on this? Wait, this has 8 USB ports? We all know how much I like USB ports, right? Okay, so the same number of USB ports. So they haven't managed to screw that up. I'm assuming this is also on 1 gig Realtek LAN. Yeah, this is on 1 gig Realtek. So it's going to have it's the same memory topology. I am now very confused why the Elite, is the Elite going to be 110? Because, that's the only way this makes sense, is, if this is barely more expensive than the DS3H, then sure. But if it is significantly more expensive than the DS3H, it's like, uh, why? Right? Because like they're the same board. The main difference being you get the plastic I/O cover that doesn't do anything. The integrated rear I/O shield, which rear I/O shields don't do anything. Literally, you don't need to install them in your case. I have an open air test bench. I don't have I don't have the option to have a rear I/O shield. Um, so like I don't care about rear I/O shields. I don't care about the plastic I/O covers. The heatsink is bigger. Yes, that's a good thing. Um, but is it gonna be like? I mean, I don't like this board very much either, but at least this makes sense if you're going to run a 3300X or something. This, on the other hand, is uh, like this one's just awkward in my opinion, because it's the DS3H with a bigger heatsink as far as I can tell. Which is like, depending on how big the price difference is, like, I'd argue you could go and, like, buy those, like, memory heatsinks or something and just glue those onto the DS3H. Like thermal tape those onto the heatsink of the DS3H, and you might actually end up with similar VRM thermals at the end of that. Oh, I guess they may be down. No, audio's the same. Realtek. Of course, that's the same. Memory topology, the same. PCIe slot layout, the same. Like, yeah, it's the same bloody board. So why do they both exist? Like, why can't you get this? Like, why don't they offer? Like, what would I would have preferred for the Elite? If there was no plastic and they made the VRM heatsink really freaking big. Like, just all the way to the rear I/O. Not necessarily integrating the I/O shield, just all, like, just make the top part of that heatsink even larger. I would have preferred that. But yeah, so this board kind of makes sense. This board, depending on how much it costs, doesn't make sense. And actually, honestly, even if it's like, because it has to be like really close in price point to this board to make any like to be even remotely reasonable. And I don't think that's actually going to be the case. So, wait, Q flash. Wait a minute. Does this? Yeah, this still has a Q flash button. Like, why would you not get this instead? I mean, it's horrible, but this is horrible too. So it's like, then, there's no difference at that point. So yeah, Gigabyte's mATX offerings, not really that great. The Aorus Pro actually looks like a solid ATX board. I like that one. I like the Vision D. I like the Vision D a lot, actually. The Master, in my opinion, makes some really bizarre feature choices, mostly in the department of not having a dual BIOS switch while having dual BIOS chips. So, yeah. So basically, cool, kind of cool, not really that cool, horrid. Like, well, what did you expect for that price point? And yeah, like I would have like I don't really like this board either very much. The Aorus Pro. Like, there's better at that price point. I'm pretty sure you can find better mATX boards, unless this is like, because the thing is, like, this one's $94, so like I'm assuming the M Pro has to be 150, because otherwise where would the Elite go, right? Or maybe this is 140 and then the Elite is 120, in which case the Elite is real. Like, the thing is, like, there's solid $150 mATX boards that I've already seen from other vendors, so it's like, yeah, I'm just Gigabyte's mATX options just don't look that great unless you really want Q Flash and you have no intention of ever upgrading to like a really high power consumption CPU. And then for their ATX boards, it's like these two are cool, and then this one isn't. Or at least not in my opinion. I guess if you really want the 3M.2 SSDs at PCIe 4.0, then the Master makes a lot of makes sense then. But to me, that's just kind of like eh. Like, I don't care about that kind of functionality. So yeah, that is that is it for my impressions of the Gigabyte B550 lineup. I do actually have a review sample of the Aorus Master, which makes me, like, the thing is, I still can't believe there's two bloody BIOS switches. Like, I was taking the pictures for the PCB breakdown, and then it hit me like, wait a minute, there's two BIOS chips here, but I don't see any switches on the board. Have they gone back to that abomination that, like, you had on, like, B450 and X370, like, X470 boards where... And apparently, yes, they have. You now have the idiotic dual BIOS again on a $280 motherboard, which is just so incredibly stupid. I have no idea why that... like, how did they come to the conclusion that that is a good idea? Like, I'd love to hear the reasoning behind why this doesn't have dual BIOS switches. Because it's not like they ran out of space. Right? Like, look at all that space right above the postcode. Or along the bottom edge. Or right here. Like, there's plenty of space. Right? Like, right here by the chipset heatsink, space. Up here's space. Down in this area, you could totally fit some switches if you tried. Like... hell, if you were feeling extra, special, you could somehow try squeeze them between the, like, near the BIOS switches, if that was more convenient for layouting. I like, just having dual BIOS switches is so important with Gigabyte's dual BIOS implementation that I have no idea why this doesn't have it. And, yeah, anyway, so that is actually... my first impressions of the Gigabyte B550 lineup. We'll see, like, I'll be doing all of the other vendors as well. So I've already done ASRock. I'll leave a link to that down in the description. And then I'll be doing, I'm not sure who I'll do next. I think Asus probably, and then MSI last. Just because I think for Z490 I did MSI first. Like, I tried to keep the order... like, relative, like, I don't want the order to be, like, favoring any one brand. So yeah, anyway, that's it for the video. So thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comment section below. If you'd like to support what I do here with actually hardcore overclocking, I have a Patreon where you can support me directly, or there's the AHOC Teespring store where you can pick up shirts, stickers, posters, the usual YouTuber merch. And there's a link to both of those things down in the description below. They help out immensely with running the channel. And yeah, so that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.